This last panelist probably needs no introduction because y'all have probably seen him on MSNBC, CBS, and every other channel. But we are going to introduce him as well. Mr. Gerald A. Griggs is an Atlanta attorney dedicated to equal justice for all. He is a tenacious trial attorney and zealous advocate and a compassionate social justice activist. Attorney Griggs is a 1996 graduate of Woodward Academy. He furthered his studies at Oxford College of Emory University, and where he received his BA in 2000. After his time at Emory, Attorney Griggs received his JD in 2004 from the University of Cincinnati College of Law. He began practicing law in the state of Georgia in the fall of 2004. Attorney Griggs was recognized as a member of Emory's Top 40 Under 40 Distinguished Alumni. Attorney Griggs has handled thousands of cases over his legal career. He is a well-respected litigator known for handling high-profile cases. Attorney Griggs participated in the litigation of Atlanta cheating scandal trial, Georgia's longest trial. Further, he has handled countless high-profile cases featured on media outlets such as ABC, NBC, Fox, CNN, Fox News, CBS, and TV One. Attorney Griggs is currently representing numerous clients, including R. Kelly, sex trafficking matters. So I present to some and introduce to others someone that needs no introduction, Attorney Gerald Griggs.
Hello. Can you all hear us? Yes. Okay, listen, we're going to jump right into it. So first of all, Nancy Flake Johnson, Urban League of Greater Atlanta. And the first thing I want to do is just invite all of you, if you ever have a need that the Urban League can support you through, we want to do it. So let's jump right on into it. And one of the things about the state of Black Georgia is it's a tale of two cities or two states. Now, what do you think I mean about when I say it's a tale of two states? Attorney Griggs, when I say that, what does that mean to you? And tell us from your perspective, what's happening in these two worlds?
Thank you, Nancy, and it's an honor to be here with Black Voters Matter and you with the Urban League, and of course Melody Campbell, who's been doing such a great job with the Black Women's Roundtable. So it's an honor to be with these panelists who are going to bring a lot of information that's necessary to the community. But when we talk about the state of Black Georgia, you are correct. There are two distinct Georgias. There's Georgia for the majority community, and then there's the reality of Georgia for the minority community, which for Black folks, that means an attack on voting rights, attack on Black history, attack on Black empowerment, attack on everything Black. And so at the Georgia State Conference of the NAACP, we've been on the front lines for 115 years. For the Atlanta branch, we've been on the front lines for 105 years. And so we need to be real intentional in understanding that there's a weaponization of one, the justice system, but two, now the voting systems against Black folks. And so when we talk about what's happening in Metro Atlanta, we talk about what's happening below Macon, which again, most people say they're two different Georgias. When we talk about that, you got Metro Atlanta and you got the rest of Georgia. There's an attack. There's an attack on healthcare. There's an attack on voting rights. There's an attack on economic empowerment. There's an attack on Black women. There are so many attacks. So,
why are we being attacked so much?
Well, because of organizations like Black Voters Matter and the NAACP and the Urban League and the Black Women's Roundtable and so many other of our civic engagement partners. You guys went out and voted, and they saw the state turning brown, and so they attacked everything brown and Black. And so that's what's happening in Georgia, and we are going to stand up, push back, and make sure that we empower ourselves to fight back, because when we fight back, what happens? We win.
Absolutely. And to that point, what I want to bring to your attention, our State of Black Georgia report that Urban League published, one of the things that surprised even me is the percentage of Black people that live in the state. What percentage do you think black people are? Just shout it out from the audience. What do you
37.
37.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Woo! Look, it's not quite 37 yet, but it could be. It could be because I think we were undercounted in
Census
the
is
last
definitely
census.
undercounted.
All right, but we're right now on the record. We're 32%, very close. Anyway, here's the deal. That means 1 in 3 people in this state look like us. If we are emboldened and united, and the rest of the state is split on an issue, we determine the outcome of an election, people. We determine the outcome. And we got a lot of split in this state. And right now, one of the things that really concerns us is voter participation. In Fulton County alone, and I got this from Black Voters Matter, there are 117,000 black registered voters that have never voted. Let me repeat that. 117,000 black registered voters that have never voted. Now, think about that. You remember when Stacey Abrams ran for governor of the state? Remember she lost the first time and the second time? Well, the first time she lost, shout out how many votes she lost by. 16,000? Anybody else? 50,000 votes. But what did I just say? One county, double that number of black people did not vote. That's one county. And it's the same in DeKalb and Clayton and Cobb. The numbers, when you add them up, baby, they give you a heart attack. We are giving away our power by not engaging. What would it be like today if we had a black female governor in the state of Georgia? It'd be different, I can tell you that, and it would be better. Okay, so with that, I'm gonna move on to, this is the perfect person to go on to next, and that is Representative Roger Bruce. Listen, how many years have you served? 22 years. Trust me, they don't get paid enough. That he gives up 16-hour days for us, fighting for us at a state capitol where you practically can't win because the majority party in power covers the governor's house, the state house, and the Senate. All one party. Whenever you got that, you got unbalance. And he's still fighting up there. Let's give him a round of applause. He is retiring at the end of this cycle, and we're gonna miss you, my brother, so much. But it's time for you to have some fun. So talk about what's happening at the state capitol.
But let me be clear about one thing, though. Retirement is not really the accurate word. What it is that I'm going to be leaving the legislature.
Okay, that's it. Better.
And if you look at life, okay, how many baseball fans we got here? Anybody understand baseball? You got 9 members on the team, right? And if I'm the first baseman, and the ball gets hit to third base, and I run to third base to catch the ball, I'm in the third baseman's way, and my base is not covered, right? So in the legislature, I was playing first base. I have to be a diplomat. I have to be nice. I have to convince people to do things that I want them to do. That's the base I was playing. I don't want to play that base anymore. I want to raise hell. And that requires me to take on a different base, a different position. I need to be over there with you at the NAACP. We need to be raising hell because the things that they are doing at the state, the people have a theory that the Republicans or the other party that they want to do things for us, that they want to work with us. They don't want to work with you. They don't want to help us unless they are going to be helped in the process. And I told you about a piece of legislation. Some of you may be aware of it. When you get arrested, they take your mugshot and put it out on the internet. And then when you get exonerated, the sheriff will take your mugshot down. But there were companies out there that would take the mugshot and put it on their website. And when you ask them to take it down, they say, send me $500 and I'll take it down. You send them the $500, they take it down, and then they put up another website, put it back out there again, and charge you another $500. So I had a bill passed that made that illegal. But the way I did it, I found me some little white Republicans that had mugshots out there. And they wanted it just as bad as I did. So you have to find ways for them to be impacted by the things that we want. I have a bill that was pending dealing with reparations. And, you know, reparations is not us begging for money. Reparations is us asking to be paid for services rendered. Our ancestors worked, they did not get paid, so they had nothing to pass on to generate from generation to generation. So I'm not begging for money, I'm demanding payment for services rendered. And what is happening is that there are groups of whites that feel like to give us reparations is to take something away from them. But from a practical standpoint, if we have resources and money to spend, we still gonna spend that in businesses they own. So they do benefit from us getting reparations. So the whole point that I'm trying to make with all of this is that we have to stop thinking that they want to help us. We have to figure out ways to make them think by helping us that they're helping themselves. I am the person that's responsible for the creation of the city of South Fulton. And when we created the city of South Fulton, we had to convince them that somehow they were going to be benefited from the creation of this city. Because they were under the impression that they were subsidizing the black folks in South Fulton. But they weren't. Only we were subsidizing them. And we were subsidizing them because we were not getting our fair share of sales tax. The sales tax in the county is divided up among cities. Since we were not a city, the $25 million that was supposed to go to us went to them. And, you know, so I wanted them to believe that they were subsidizing us because I wanted them to support the bill. And then after we passed the bill, I informed them, you owe me $25 million. And they were like, what are you talking about? I said, that's our portion of the sales tax. They didn't get it ahead of time. So that's, again, all I'm saying to you is be strategic in how you go about things and get rid of the illusion that just because you asked for it, that they want to give it to you, because that is not the case. Be strategic, work with each other, and do things that are going to help each other. One last thing. She mentioned that I used to work for Maynard Jackson, and I did. When I was a student at Morehouse, I led the student movement to help him become the first mayor. And then I sat in on a lot of the meetings after he became mayor. And one of the things that he did that I will never forget, because it was something that I kind of used myself. And we were in his office, and he had the presidents of all of the banks in Atlanta in his office. And he said to them, look, you can't serve the community if you don't have black members on your board that understand what's happening in the black community. And one of the bank presidents stood up and he gave his little long speech and he said, you're not going to tell me who's going to be on the bank, on the board of the bank without running. You're not going to do that. And Maynard was very cool. He said, all right, called the staff in. He said, Monday morning, take every dime of of the city money out of his bank. And that was millions and millions and millions of dollars. And the guy said, well, you can't do that. He said, I just did. And guess what happened on Monday? There was some black people on the board of that bank. And that's what we have to do. Get strategic, use the latitude that you have, and don't let anybody tell you what you cannot do. Period.
Things that I want us to talk about next, because you said this, they don't want to help us. Well, this is not a theory. There's a ton of stuff that is happening right now, and I fear under the radar of most black people, not only in our state, but across the country, that is literally taking us back in time. Why don't you talk about, Sarah, the recent ruling in the Fearless Fund and some of the other major moves that states are making to roll back our rights intentionally. Can you talk about that?
Absolutely. Good afternoon, everyone. Some of you all may be familiar with the Fearless Fund. It was a venture capitalist fund started by some women here in Atlanta who were trying to address the fact that black women-owned businesses receive less than 1% of venture capital funds, meaning that black women businesses are not receiving the same funding in enormously discrepant amounts to fund their businesses, to start businesses, and to own and operate these businesses. So the Fearless Fund was created to try and address that issue. Almost immediately after the Fearless Fund came into being, there was a group, a leader of a very conservative organization that sued and said that the Fearless Fund was discriminating against non-black people for receiving grant funding for businesses. The case has gone through the court system, and ultimately, as of a couple of weeks ago, there's been a final determination that the Fearless Fund is illegal and cannot operate as designed. This is a huge setback because what this organization was trying to do was level the playing field and balance out the scales. And the court has literally said you cannot do that, despite having the data right there that says that less than 1% of black women receive this funding. Despite the data that shows that many businesses that receive capital funding are white, male-owned businesses. So instead of addressing this issue, the court has now shifted who the victim is in this situation. And if you all have the time and can understand the legalese and the opinion that came forth from the court, essentially the organization that sued against the Fearless Fund said that people who are not black women will suffer irreparable harm by not having access to this funding, despite the fact that they are already receiving the majority of this funding. So we're again seeing that at the judicial level, the attempts that we are trying to make to level the playing field for black people, particularly black women, are completely being offset, completely being undermined. And the organization that is behind this lawsuit is an organization that is historically against DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion. They're against critical race theory. They are against anything that is the advancement for that supports the advancement of black people. The leader or the founder of this organization is very vocal about his opposition to any type of DEI measures, any type of racial reparations, anything that would actually benefit us. And again, to kind of go towards speak to the vocal backlash against the support for black people is also Project 2025. Okay, so I see some people know about it. Who else knows about Project 2025? If you don't know, you need to know. It is a document that is over 900 pages long that plans out the conservative agenda after 2025 to completely dismantle everything, all of the progress in our country, not only for black people, but for any type of minority. Literally from defunding the Federal Department of Education, to attacking our media, attacking our nonprofits, all of the measures and resources that are in place to try and balance the things that are going on. If you have not even glanced or read stories about Project 2025, I urge you to do so, because it could hopefully make you or encourage you to vote in this upcoming election, because it is a clear document on what's at stake. Over 900 pages of racism, over 900 pages of bigotry, over 900 pages of xenophobia, of homophobia, of all of the phobias that you can imagine, all right there. And they have the audacity to spell it out for us. They're telling us what their plan is.
And one thing about this plan that you need to know, it is clearly stated that this just isn't a plan. This is the plan, the transition plan for the next Republican president. It's clear that is the title of the plan. It is the transitional plan for the next Republican president. We all know who the conservatives are hoping is going to be the next president. Here's what it also says. On day one, that the Republican president will declare absolute power over the executive branch of the government. Now, what does that mean? That means instead of having to get approval by Congress for any major action, the president will be able to unilaterally make decisions. And it goes further. It will immediately disband the FBI, the Department of Education, Homeland Security, the Department of Health and Human Services, who a lot of our people depend on. Be clear, this is the plan.
Don't forget about the Department of Justice.
Oh, and the Department of Justice. There will be no protections, zero, for racial discrimination. If you're discriminated against, too bad. You will have no place to go to request support. DEI is dead, quite frankly. I'm really curious. So this got triggered in full force by the recent decision by the Supreme Court to disband or undo, what's it called?
Well, what they attempted to do was to eliminate affirmative action. And affirmative action is not dead, it's just on life support. And so Students for Fair Admissions versus Harvard and UNC is the blueprint to take apart affirmative action. And many people don't know the acronym diversity, equity, and inclusion. So I'm gonna break it down to the term it was before. Affirmative action, which was targeted to remove the ills that had been put in place through Jim Crow, through our civil rights generation to get us to where we are right now. And so what the Project 2025 is going to do is to empower a growing group of people who will become the minority to have minority rule. So what does that mean? If we get rid of the Department of Justice, there's no Office of Civil Rights, there's no Attorney General, there's no ability to sue or to hold local municipalities or states accountable for discrimination, for abuse of power, for anything that we benefited, fair housing, all the things that we fought for generations. You know, when our ancestors came out of slavery, you know the reason they created the Department of Justice is to go after the Klan. That's the purpose of the DOJ. And so when you think about these broad and ambiguous terms that they're using, I like to dumb it down. It's white supremacy on steroids. And so once you understand that and you go back into your communities and you have a conversation, you explain why it's important to vote in November. And again, as the NAACP, we can't tell you who to vote for, but we can sure tell you that aside from the Department of Justice, the one of the only other groups, and of course with the ACLU, but one of the only other groups that are suing to protect us is the NAACP. So, if there's no Justice Department, we're going to be very, very, very busy. Like we were busy under Thurgood. Like we were busy under W.E.B. Du Bois. I saw his picture when we were coming in. All those people that are on the wall, y'all gonna have to become those people on the wall. So, either we vote, or we become the people on the wall. Which one do you want to be? Me, I'm going to be one of the people on the wall. Nancy, one of the people on the wall. Sarah, one of the people on the wall. Roger Bruce is already on the wall. And so we need to understand that this is the seminal moment for our generation. We have to come off the sidelines. We have to forget about all the things we've heard in those, esoteric think tank groups that just want to talk about, well, if we withhold our vote, something great's going to happen. No, because we tried that. That was called 2016. And then we got a conservative majority on the Supreme Court. And so we have to be intentional in electing progressive candidates. That's the furthest I can go in telling you who to vote for. Progressive candidates who want to protect women's reproductive rights, who want to protect voting rights, who want to actually accurately teach Black history. These are just a few of the things that are on the ballot. But the most important thing that's on the ballot, how many of y'all are parents in here? My daughter's right over there. Okay, so I'm giving you a little history lesson. I'm going to pass the mic. I was born in 1978, which means I was the first person in my family to be born with all of my rights, because I was born after the 64 and 65 Civil Rights Acts. So I had all of my rights. But then the decision that came down in Dobbs stripped her of some of her rights. So unless I want to be the last person in my family born with all my rights, I'm going to have to fight for her and her brother. So this cuts out all the excuses. If you want to be your ancestors' wildest dreams, start fighting like your ancestors.
That's right. Thank you.
Can I say something?
Yes.
He can't say who to vote for. I can. And quite frankly, what I'm going to tell you is who not to vote for. Don't vote for Donald Trump. You are putting yourself in a bad situation by electing a person who has told you, he's flat out told you, I want to be a dictator. I want to be able to use the justice, the military, to go after my political enemies. He's saying this stuff. So if somebody is bold enough to tell you what he's going to do, if he's elected,
now it's in writing what he's going to do.
Believe him. And all these people that keep saying, well, our vote doesn't matter, our vote. Your vote does matter. It absolutely does matter. That's how we got rid of him the last time. Had we not gone out to vote the last time, he would still be the president, and you might be back in slavery by now. But the whole point is, please don't let anyone discourage you or tell you not to vote. That is the only thing that we have right now. Get up, get out, take 10 people with you and vote. And do not vote for Donald Trump.
And totally. So here's the thing. We got to understand the urgency of this. That's my biggest fear, is that there's so much apathy, and I understand, because people are dealing with life every single day. How am I going to pay my bills? I got to go to work. I got to deal with my issues at home, my health, all these things that the system is built to make heavier on our people are the reason we're thinking the way we are. But there's other reasons. There's a lot of misinformation that is being filtered through the social media, to the point where I'm asking young people I run into, who do you think is behind the dismantling of diversity, equity, and inclusion? And repeatedly, They are saying, who? Biden. And I'm falling on the floor. Trump is the president that stacked the Supreme Court with conservatives to intentionally to tear down affirmative action, intentionally to ban abortions, intentionally to dismantle diversity, equity, and inclusion. And putting his name on a check is not enough for you to give up your soul, your future, and your freedom. And please understand, because a name is on a check is not how it got to you. It got to you because of congressional action. And the president put his name on it. And he knew what he was doing. And a lot of people are falling for it. Wherever you are, we got to wake our people up, folks. This is now. This plan that we're talking about, Google it. Project 2025. Don't believe us. I want you to see it for yourself in black and white. This is intended to happen in 6 months. 6 months. Not 10 years from now. 6 months. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. You all, I can't underscore enough the theme that Nancy is speaking on here, which is educate yourselves. The things that we're seeing on social media may or may not be true. The things that you see on TV may or may not be true. So go and look for yourself. Do the research. And if you don't understand what you're reading, ask for some help. There, you have the NAACP, you have the ACLU, you have your state
voters matter.
You have Black Voters Matter. You have your state representatives. Find out who your representatives are. How many people in here know who their representative and their senator are in the state? I don't see enough hands. Everybody's hand should be up in here. So it's about educating yourself so that you can make decisions, informed decisions for yourself instead of following the lead of what you're being told. And that includes us. Again, you know, some of us can and can't say who to vote for on this panel, but make that decision for yourself. And no matter who you vote for them because you know what their platform is. Vote for them because you believe that they really will make a difference for our country, make a difference for our people, make a difference for you. Don't just do what you're hearing. Don't just follow what you're being told. Make the decision for yourself because that is the power that you hold that nobody can take away from you.
And you know, I hear a lot of people talking about not voting because I don't like either candidate. And I get that. I get that feeling, right? But here's the reality of where we are today. And this is in any election. You got to vote for what's in front of you. And the candidates in this case could not be more substantially different. None of them are perfect. But the question you have to ask yourself, is my family going to be safer, more secure, be free enough to fight another day with this candidate? Or am I potentially going to be, my freedoms be affected, let alone your economics?
Let me just say this. We need a history lesson. We need to go back to why Reconstruction ended. Reconstruction ended because a deal was cut to make sure economics were taken care of. Anytime somebody's making an economic argument, they are making an argument to dissuade you from progress. Yes, at McDonald's, the sausage egg McMuffin is $8. That's clear. But ask yourself why the sausage egg McMuffin is $8. It's $8 because we gave a tax break to the very wealthy, and now they are price gouging because no executive can drive down inflation. Inflation happens when taxation doesn't match spending. And what are we spending on? But again, let's go back 1866 to about 1878. The argument was made, if we adjust our economics and build roads and bridges, we can take the federal troops out of the South and end Reconstruction. What does that sound like? If I get rid of the Justice Department, if I get rid of the FBI, if I allow states' rights to reign, but make sure your pocket feels good, then you will understand that you don't need your reproductive rights. You don't need your voting rights. I'm definitely not going to teach you about this, so we're going to erase Black history. We're going to sanitize these heroes of the past. That's what's happening, y'all, because we are in the third Reconstruction. If you don't understand what that means, read Reverend Dr. William Barber's book. Y'all know Reverend Dr. William Barber, Poor People's Campaign. He talks about this every Moral Monday. And so once you understand what's going on, you can understand the buzzwords like deportation force, build the wall. We're going to, on the first day, have mass deportations. What color are the people they're going to be deported? Brown. And let's be clear, the people that are coming up from the southern border aren't just brown. They are also our Asian brothers and sisters, many of our Caribbean brothers and sisters, a lot of African brothers and sisters. And what y'all have to understand is there is a fear-mongering that is going on that is speaking directly to the minds of people who feel like they are being replaced. I want you to Google something, I'm gonna close. Google an interview I did with Charles Barkley and Richard Spencer where he said his greatest fear is that this country will become brown and black. Richard Spencer is the leader of the alt-right. I tried to warn y'all in 2017, now we're here.
Thank you. All right, we got just 1.5 minutes left, so I'm just gonna ask each of you, what is the one thing, what is the one action item that we can leave with our audience that they can do to protect themselves and advance the Black community where we are right now? I'm gonna start with Sarah.
The first thing that you can do right now, make sure that you have not been purged from the voting rolls. Make sure that you are still eligible to vote. And if you're not, get that corrected. I'm not sure when the registration deadline is.
It's not too.
Yeah, 30 days before the election.
Right. So make sure that you are still eligible to vote, because who we vote for is going to determine a lot from this point forward.
Yep, thank you. Roger?
Well, I think she said it, but the reality is that you have to make sure that you vote and that you knock on your neighbor's door and take your neighbor to vote and get everybody in your community to go vote, because if you don't, you're going to be the victim.
Well, it's Freedom Summer 2024, and we have to make sure that we are prepared. So we're going to partner with our partners from the Urban League, Black Voters Matter, and so many others to mobilize the vote the way we mobilized the vote in 2020. There's a reason why certain conservative individuals are attacking Georgia, because brown and black folks in Georgia stood up and sent an individual home. So we're going to do that, and we're going to lock a certain individual up from this county to go serve in a prison in Jackson. So what we're going to do is protect the democracy by 1, voting, and by 2, serving on a jury to make sure that Georgia law reigns. I can't protect the rest of the country, but I can sure protect this state. So that's what we're going to do. I hope you would join the NAACP in being not your grandmama's NAACP, but your great-grandmama's NAACP, because Thurgood and W.E.B. Du Bois are back.
Woo! Okay. And I'm going to close us out with this. They've said it all about voting. You know where my head is on getting educated on that. But the other thing is, I want you to encourage our people to be unified again. We are all over the place. Start at home with your families. Let's be our best. Take advantage of the resources that are here for us. If you've been wanting to go to school, don't put it off. You can do it. It doesn't matter how old you are. If you have a passion for something and you want to increase the economics of your household and your family, Urban League is here for you. Young people, let's look out for our young people. Let's bring them in close, because the other thing that they're doing very effectively with social media is turning young against older in our own race. And we can't have that. We've got to lean into each other and hold each other tighter than we ever have before. And we're going to win. We're going to win. We're going to close this racial economic gap, but we got a fight ahead of us to have the shot to do it. So thank you for being here today. Know that we are here for you. We're the trusted voices. Not people you hear on social media you don't even know. NAACP, Urban League, our representatives, ACLU, that's what we do every day for over 100 years. Our whole lives are dedicated to you. So when people say they don't know who to trust, you let them know who to trust and refer them to that Project 2025, because if they talking crazy, let them read that and they'll see it for themselves. Thank y'all for being here. Thank you so much. Thank you to our panelists. I love each and every one of you, and we in this thing together. Thank you. Have a good rest of your weekend. Happy Father's Day to the fathers and all the fathers to be. Thanks so much.